In this small office in downtown St. Louis, a man dreamed of a forest. Slowly, quietly, patiently, the forest grew. The dream became a reality. And this was not a small dream.
I'm out planting a forest. Please leave your name and number, and I'll try to get back to you before it matures. Thank you.
Pioneer Forest is the largest private landholding in the state of Missouri. Over 154,000 acres, stretching across 5 counties along the Current and Jacks Fork rivers, preserving and protecting the environment through a vast section of Missouri's Ozarks. It's the fulfillment of one man's dream. That dreamer's name is Leo Drey.
Leo is going to be one of those people who, sometime in the future, if not already, people are going to realize the stature of what he has accomplished and what he's done for this state.
Clint Trammell is forest manager of Pioneer. He's spent a career working on the forest and working with Leo Drey.
I've been here almost 36 years now, and every morning I still get up and look forward to going to work. I mean, I could not have found a better place to spend a career than to have spent it right here on Pioneer Forest doing what we do.
Hey Jerry, we can take this tree out. It's reached its maturity.
What they do on Pioneer Forest is sustainable forest management.
It's got a DBH of 25.
A small group of 6 employees individually selects trees for harvest,
Sound.
allowing the forest as a whole to remain intact. This single tree management approach was an essential part of Leo Drey's vision.
26 feet.
One of the first things that Leo told us back then when we went to work was that he wanted Pioneer to be a for-profit business, but he didn't want to destroy the forest in the process. After we harvest a tract of timber, any logger that works on us would be willing to go back the next day and cut that tract again, because we have that quality and that much timber that's left after we get through and call a sale closed. And all of the values and benefits that were in that forest before we started logging are still there. This one looks like it's 97 years old based on the growth ring count. It was really beginning to slow down these last few years, even though it was a dominant tree. Apparently this tree was getting to the point where it was probably going to start declining. So it was time for this one to come down.
On another section of Pioneer Forest, Chief Forester Terry Cunningham and LAD Foundation staff member Greg Ifrig discussed the long-term benefits of single tree selection.
You know, there's a remarkable thing about the uneven age management is we still have a forest here, maintain our woodland character, even though we've been harvesting it here within the last 2.5 years. That technique we've used 3 times on this particular piece of ground. And what happens is we begin to develop structure in here. That technique, through our cut and select them, we create these openings in the canopy that allows the sunlight to come in, and that's what generates the fuel for these seedlings to grow up into the sapling class. I've worked for Mr. Drey 33 years, and I have the utmost respect for him and what he's done and accomplished in the Ozarks. Pioneer Forest is a business, and it contributes to the local economies. All our trees are sold to local loggers and local sawmills. It has quite an impact. We harvest several million feet a year. We've cut many of these tracts 3 different times. We still have a woodland on the tract.
Ronnie Harper, a longtime timber contractor with Pioneer, has come to understand the importance of a sustainable forest.
90% of all the logs I cut at my sawmill comes off Pioneer Forest. There's probably 25 families in my bunch that eat because of Pioneer Forest. When I first started, it was hard for me to walk around some of the better trees that we've left, but when we go back through it 20 years later, we've got some nice big trees, to cut thin, so it's more of an even type stand. I've been there long enough, it's kind of neat. I'm going back over the same stuff that I've done 20 years ago. It shows you what timber does when it's managed right and stuff.
I mean, I'm sold on what Leo took on and stuck with. The idea of being able to go into a forest and do single tree selection management and leave behind more trees than are cut and leave behind the best trees and cut the worst. The fact that he went into the Ozarks and used this method to restore forests on a landscape scale has got to be among his greatest contributions.
Drey's contribution to Missouri's environment are legendary. As he acquired land throughout the Ozarks, certain areas were deemed so significant they had to be made available to the public. Dillard Mills State Historic Site, Clifty Creek Conservation Area, Grand Gulf State Park, and many other significant natural areas were purchased by Drey and donated to the state for public use and protection. When the spectacular Greer Spring was threatened with development, Leo stepped in.
Greer Springs is such a unique place. Once Leo saw this move to make it a commercial development, he immediately took action to see that if he couldn't head that off. At some point during the discussions, Leo and the Bush Corporation put in enough money to bring the price of it down so that the U.S. Forest Service could acquire it. And the natural beauty of that now will be preserved forever.
Leo Drey also started the Open Space Council in St. Louis and helped to form Missouri's Coalition for the Environment. He provided leadership and support for environmental groups throughout the region. In 2004, Leo and his wife, Kay, completed their greatest achievement, the donation of 146,000 acres of pioneer forest to a private charitable foundation. The purpose was to ensure that this vast tract of Ozark land, critically important to the watersheds of the Current and Jacks Fork River systems, would be managed sustainably and be open to the public forever. It was a staggering achievement, the largest conservation-related charitable contribution in Missouri history.
The news of that donation went out, and it was slow to percolate around Missouri and across the country. But there's been wide coverage in the media, and the most recent, and perhaps the most important, was the Time magazine issue, where Leo and Kay were noted among the top 10 philanthropic gifts for the previous year. The value we calculated of the donation of Pioneer and its assets is about $180 million. So a huge gift and a wonderful gift for Missouri.
Many of Leo Drey's battles are behind him now. Over 90 years old, Leo and his wife Kay continue to live in their modest St. Louis home. But when reminiscing about the Ozarks and Pioneer Forest, Leo still has a twinkle in his eye. It's the look of a man whose dreams have come true.
I get too much credit for doing just what I wanted to do. That's all. All I was doing was what came natural. I was trying to put together this demonstration area that would show that you could manage land through individual tree selection and not go broke in the process. So while I was putting Pioneer Forest together, I was running around in the backwoods country and meeting people and enjoying those people there. Had their feet on the ground and enjoyed getting to know them. I enjoyed hiking in the forest, and I certainly enjoyed canoeing the clear Ozark streams, which were running clear and full because of the way Conservation Department was beginning to get the woods fires under control. And well, they say I get credit for doing what I wanted to do, which I enjoyed doing.
Integral to Leo's accomplishments has been his 50-year marriage to his wife, Kay, an environmental activist of note in her own right. Kay continues her work protecting Missouri's environment.
When I met Leo, I met him at a wedding, and I said, "Oh, do you have a tree? I'm a tree worshiper." And Leo looked at me really strangely and walked away, and that was our first meeting. You know, I did love the out of doors. I had had virtually no camping experience as a child, but I really loved trees and clouds and just open space. And I guess, you know, politically we agreed on things too. Leo was a political animal when I first knew him. He still is.
History remembers great men by the deeds they've accomplished. In Leo Drey's case, it's a staggering legacy. Huge tracts of land preserved, new management techniques developed, environmental groups created and nurtured, charitable giving on a monumental scale. Leo Drey was a dreamer. His dreams were larger than any of us could imagine, and he had the drive, persistence, and creativity to make those dreams come true. But there is another more subtle measure of great men. It can be found in the hearts of the people around them.
You know, if I hadn't have taken this job with Pioneer, I would never have known what I've missed. But having worked with Leo and knowing the quality of the man that he is, I value every day that I've worked for him. His values, his long-term vision, his dedication to the natural resources of Missouri has made this one of the most enjoyable experiences I think I could have ever had.